Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the L1 show, Link with Friends. Today is July 5th, and we're doing business and security stories to share with your friends.
Everybody's all hungover from their 4th of July celebrations.
Can't hear. Someone's missing a finger at this stage.
Covered in powder burns. And let's talk about a little bit of collapse this week. We have some more layoffs and some more failures.
National Geographic lays off its last remaining staff writers. The Disney takeover is complete.
That's sad.
So they're going to farm it out, probably to AI eventually.
Yeah.
AI telling us about nature. That just doesn't seem right.
The Disney takeover really is complete. They're National Geographic in name only. Disney just owns the name. That's all they wanted in the beginning anyway. And everything else has just been, making what money they can off of what's left, as is the Disney way.
And in the software world, sometimes you have a bit of a one-hit wonder. But oh boy, was this a hit. However, it seems that the time for that is past. We've moved on from this cultural phenomenon.
Pokemon Go developer Niantic laying off hundreds of staff. Upcoming Marvel project has been canned. Yeah, because everybody is all tired of all the Marvel stuff.
We've reached Marvel saturation.
Yeah.
They just put out a movie, right? And I didn't know it was coming. I don't care.
I heard it's not doing real well. It didn't even top the box office.
What even was it? I don't even remember what it was.
I don't know. I saw a headline about it this week, though.
Nobody's got time to think about movies because of the implosion of society.
Well, and it's expensive to go to the movies.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? Why would I spend money? Also, it's usually a subpar experience with people yelling and sticky floors. And
one reason traditionally people would go to the movies was to get out of the heat. Now you can do it to get out of the horrific smoke from Canada.
Although their indoor ventilation systems aren't great.
Well, Plex, they had a pretty good business model, and people used it a lot to run their own media to get away from horrible ads. Like we've seen that YouTube, another adpocalypse is coming. And then the Plex leadership said, you know what we should add to this equation? Ads.
Plex lays off more than 20% of its staff. 37 people were cut. The layoffs affect every department at the company, according to a memo from the CEO.
So they went into ad-supported content, and nobody wants it. Shocking. And they often say that
this could have gone in nonsense.
The luxury brands, right? Because in 2008, the luxury brands benefited.
Yeah.
Like Lamborghini and Rolex and Cartier, they had huge sales because that was just a big transfer of wealth. This time around, it might be a little more serious.
Cartier boss with $7.5 billion fortune says the prospect of the poor rising up, quote unquote, keeps him awake at night.
He made some other comments about how, if AI takes all the jobs, who's going to buy my products?
AI doesn't need watches. Especially not blingy watches.
Most people don't need to watch anymore anyway.
And yet, people buy them because it's more like jewelry at that point.
I feel so bad for him.
Just weeping. I'm a pool of tears over here.
He says as his watch is gathering data to throw into a spreadsheet.
Yeah, as you repeatedly look at it throughout the news.
I'm just gathering data so that I can chart things because people are too stupid and lazy to do it properly.
Well, we kind of covered this last week, but we have some more information about exactly what San Francisco is thinking about doing to fix the hellish landscape that they've turned their place into.
San Francisco mayor proposes tearing down Westfield Mall and other shuttered downtown retailers.
So raise it to the ground, build something else. Right now they're talking about housing, but if you build the housing, then where are those people going to work?
Well, ideally you would zone it commercial and residential, so you'd have apartments connected to something else where people would be working.
But the people living in those apartments are poison to business, as we've seen.
It would make sense if they could work from home, but no one is going to pay those kind of rates to work from home unless the price comes down by 50%, which seems apocalyptic.
I don't think you can deal heroin from your house effectively. It's a really bad idea to deal drugs out of your own home.
Yeah.
And yet, people do it a lot.
Have you ever listened to the 10 Crack Commandments by Notorious B.I.G.?
No.
Well, there's some good information.
Can I get ChatGPT to summarize it for me?
And moving on to hardware, we of course see more and more expansion into the AI chip world.
Oracle spending billions on Nvidia chips this year, Larry Ellison says, the owner of Oracle. Now, Oracle, there's a lot of Reuters did not unpack nearly as much from this as they should have. And this is a big win for Ampere, ARM. You know, ARM is winning in a lot of places, Nvidia with the AI, sure, but Ampere as well. And Ampere is compute centric. And so this gets lumped in with the win for AI. But for Oracle, nah, it's really about cheap compute. They're also buying a lot of chips from AMD. A lot of chips from AMD. The fact that you got Oracle on ARM is a huge milestone, first of all. Like that's enormous because Oracle needs a lot of support for things in hardware to make databases reliable when they fail. If that makes sense. It's weird. But for Larry Ellison to say that, that's bad. And he specifically called out Intel. Like he said, Intel is not doing well. So that's interesting.
Well, Nvidia is doing well, and they are still riding high from their big, massive pileup of chips and sell-off. But it seems like they are not motivated to iterate forward at this point. They're willing to just stagnate because they're so far in the lead.
Nvidia RTX 4060 review roundup. You deserve better. It's I would characterize it as Nvidia is relying on software to sell you less hardware for the same or more money, which is something I predicted years ago. It's unfortunate, but this is how it's going.
The top quote in that article is "wet fart of a GPU."
Yeah, that Linus said that. Yeah.
Kind of not really much of an improvement over the previous iteration.
Not at all an improvement, and in fact, a regression in some ways. The improvements all come from the DLSS upscaling software, and I guarantee if they weren't so busy, if they weren't so busy on the front lines, there would probably be a crack team of modders that were modding DLSS support into older generation GPUs, as happened with RTX voice. And then it's like, wait a minute, I can turn my 3060 Ti into a 4060 without RTX. What's going on?
And we are moving forward in some aspects of GPU development, though, and Micron is looking to introduce a new memory type.
Micron to introduce GDDR7 memory in the first half of 2024.
Sorry,
What?
just thinking about farts.
The what?
I don't know why I can't stop thinking about farts. It's making me giggle.
Well, it was, analysts for GDDR6, that has also been a bit of a wet fart market. The memory people are so worried about the low volume of memory sales that this is compensation.
What type of flatulence do you think GDDR7 will be?
I don't know.
Will it be a loud trumpeting voice?
Echoes on the bowl.
Like you're sitting in a wooden chair?
Yeah. Whew. I was trying to like hold it together, and then the more I was thinking about it, the more I was trying not to laugh, and it just came out. Sorry.
Were you thinking about like somebody easing over to squeeze one
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden there's a GPU in his pants?
And then she was like, "Great, I'm going to sell this. Fantastic. Package it up. Ship it."
He's abducted by the government. Well, price increases. That's the thing. You pay more, you get the same or less. That's kind of what we see there with the 4060, right? And that's also what we're going to see with all of our delicious wafers.
TSMC expected to charge $25,000 per 2-nanometer wafer. That's wow. That does take a lot of steps, a lot of engineering.
That's a loud, hot fart right there.
Yeah.
That's a room clear.
That's a room clear and maybe a pants change.
Dude, you need to check your pants.
We've seen a lot of businesses throwing money at new developments. We had Intel in Germany and Israel last week. This week it's AMD.
AMD to invest $135 million in Xilinx Ireland expansion. So we did a video about Pensando. Pensando's in the title, but Xilinx and Pensando kind of go hand in hand. You should check that out because Xilinx is FPGAs, and you can roll your own accelerator and PCIe hardware. With 2-nanometer being as expensive as it is, this is a great way to get performance speed up for your application. You just add an FPGA to your application stack, and then that FPGA can take a lot of load off of the cores in your system, freeing them up for more computation, which is probably the next low-hanging fruit in the density in the data center.
And I believe that we can call the format war at this point. Elon Musk has created the VHS of car chargers.
The SAE is standardizing on Tesla's EV charging plug as it racks up more wins. We reported on Rivian last week, and this week, the SAE.
I mean, you hate Tesla, but it is probably a net positive if everybody can use the same charger.
Tesla also gets a lot of credits.
Yeah.
They timed it perfectly.
Yeah, that was a big coup for him. Although I doubt he had anything to do with it. It's probably his team. And the Activision, Microsoft, all that business is leading to just mountains of legal documents. And those all have to be redacted because you don't want to give away your trade secrets, right? But there is a rule to redacting that I wasn't aware of, and is never use Sharpies because they have a weakness.
Sony's confidential PlayStation secrets just spilled because of a Sharpie. Black Sharpie strikes again and reveals Sony's Call of Duty revenue secrets. Which is crazy because Sony's not a party to FTC versus Microsoft. They've just provided some documentation to the lawyers. So once again, Sony is screwed by the lawyers that aren't their own.
Turns out if you scan something that's been blacked out with a Sharpie, scanner can see through that.
Well, you're supposed to scan it in black and white. They scanned it in color.
We
And
learned
it's just different enough. You can probably make it out.
Yeah.
we learned some interesting things, like how much they paid for certain games. The Last of Us Part 2, $220 million. Oof. And various things about how much money they made, what they really think about the whole subscription stuff and all that business. It was not a good look for Sony.
These numbers line up pretty good with, it's about $1 million per person that they employ to work on a game for a number of years. And it's not just, the person's salary that they're paying, but also office expense and organization and blah, blah, blah. But still $1 million a person, rough back of the envelope math. It's really interesting.
Now, Microsoft had a similar issue, but it wasn't a Sharpie that got them. It was just good old-fashioned oversight. They didn't have any. They accidentally put something in there that they wanted to keep secret.
Microsoft exec was ready to, quote unquote, go spend Sony out of business to strengthen Xbox. That's so strange in this whole Activision acquisition. There's so many gems like this. This is not the only one, but this is incredible. Like, this email alone should be Microsoft should never be allowed to acquire Activision.
It was just this one executive's opinion, though. He doesn't count.
Well, except that they played this out exactly because in the early days of Game Pass, it was an insane value. I was like, how are they getting away with putting all these big games on Game Pass and I'm paying them $9? Well, it turns out that was just a tactic to destroy.
Yeah, they capture the market and then they up the price of it.
But it also explains why Game Pass is really starting to be bad. Like, the games we're getting now are few and far between, and they're mostly garbage. Gonna have to cancel that eventually. Do you guys hate gas stations?
No.
I didn't understand why.
In a rural area, you can't hate a gas station because that's the only place you have for food after 8 p.m.
I thought maybe like the nagging at the pump. That's bad.
Yeah, I don't like
But
that.
it's not. I don't understand why. There's no way, if like the trolley dilemma, if it was Spectrum on one and my gas station on the other one,
That's not even a contest.
I don't understand why.
Can I pull the lever twice to hit Spectrum twice?
Engagement challenge. Why do people hate gas stations?
Americans hate ISPs almost as much as they hate gas stations, a survey finds. I could see that, like, if you lived in San Francisco and it's just such a pain to get to a gas station, maybe that would be it.
Congestion, maybe?
Yeah.
And then there would be too many people at the gas station and nobody knows how to run the pump and it's just suffering all the way around.
I mean, I don't like having to pay. It's expensive, but like, I don't have any issues going to the gas station.
How do they explain all the Buc-ee's apparel that I see people wearing?
Yeah.
I mean, they literally love it so much they wear the brand.
People don't like ISPs because imagine your water company lowering your water pressure to the point that you can't take a shower and then charging you money to restore your water pressure. It's like, what kind of a shower would you like? Would you like a trickling shower or pressure washer shower? Because the pressure washer shower is going to run you $159.99.95.
The Spectrum guys that come to my house are always shocked by what I have to say to them. Like, really, are you really surprised by this? Would you expect me to be all happy to see? Expect me to have coffee with you? And we saw in the last episode that Mark Zuckerberg is desperate to get you into the metaverse, and he's trying to give you a subscription model for his VR headsets. Apple is taking a different approach, which is probably going to be a little bit better, but once again, I wonder how much adoption this will drive.
Apple Vision Pro will support WebXR for fully immersive experiences in the browser. Quick, no one tell this article author about VRML. I remember walking around the USS Enterprise in VRML, and all of that has been lost to the sands of time.
The last part, fully immersive experiences in the browser, is that just going to be like fully immersive ads? Because that's the future we're hurtling toward.
I'm sure there'll be some of those. That would be like escape the room, but in order to escape the room, you have to read all the ads.
Ugh.
And NFC is going to get better. It's not a huge increase in distance, but this makes me worry that maybe like criminals could take advantage of this a little bit easier.
NFC contactless payments are about to come faster, easier, and truly contactless. I really hope that you've got an aluminum foil wallet. And I'm not even joking about that. You should look at the YouTube videos where somebody's rigged up one of those contactless payment readers to read people from across the room.
The current distance is in millimeters, single digit millimeters, and it's only getting 3 to 4 times bigger. So it's still not gonna be crazy, but yeah, I just can't imagine.
It's still possible to rig them up to read from very far away.
It's kind of like just opening the door to your house.
Yeah. This will not be a solved problem until the hardware on the device is literally using the speed of light to measure how far away it is, because we don't know how to make the speed of light go faster yet.
And the emergency call situation, of course, we saw this with Apple. The Apple Watch and OnStar has the similar problem. Android, turns out they've had this problem for a while. It's just that their update sequence is so slow. We're only now finding out.
Android's emergency call shortcut is flooding dispatchers with false calls. It's because if you press the power button 5 times in a row really quickly, it calls 911.
Which can happen in your pocket.
It would be nice if you could turn that into a programmable action. I'm going to hit the power button 5 times in a row. Like, okay, this happens.
Spin around on one leg.
Yeah.
Do a somersault. How about you just let me
Watch 5 ads.
take a little bit of risk in my life and not have that kind of nonsense, please. You can turn it off, by the way. But every phone manufacturer has a different menu for where to turn it off. You have to actually just go searching for it.
I think, I'm trying to remember. I thought at the lock screen it'll show you like make emergency call and it'll bypass the lock screen. Like, why do you need it on a button shortcut?
Well, maybe you're, like hurt and you're just like
You're groping for the
reaching
phone.
for
Yeah.
the phone. Yeah, I can see how it could be useful. Those of you that are into vintage tech, you can have an exciting time for a very reasonable price. I'm just not sure how long this could keep me entertained.
2,200 forgotten vintage computers are being liberated from a barn in Massachusetts.
Wendell's going on a road trip this weekend.
The Naboo network was an obscure, forgotten part of Canadian tech history.
It's really cool because it wasn't just an old computer. This was a precursor to like the internet. It was kind of like a BBS that had a proprietary BBS network. And these are new in box. Look at that, Krista. How beautiful is that menu?
It's functional. It's more functional than some stuff I've seen.
Family fun.
World of games.
It never caught on, unfortunately. That's why they have a whole barn full of them. And you can get one. Maybe this is how we'll avoid Skynet.
Everyone's on the boo.
Set designers are buying them right now to use in movies and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, this is how we communicate. It's like,
And Ars Technica has a damning expose on foldables.
ripped to my Pixel Fold, dead after 4 days. The closed display has almost touch, and that can smash debris into the screen. Debris into the screen. Yeah.
Debris.
He believes that it got in through here, and once closed,
Yeah.
caused the death.
A tiny little speck of dust that was probably a very small rock.
Seems like a technology that's a little before its time. And here's a hellish nightmare scenario where we have no more local anything. We just have terminals, and we go and we slave to them, and we buy everything as a subscription.
Microsoft wants to move Windows fully to the cloud. Time to move fully to Linux. Maybe Linux will improve with all the influx of new people.
I don't think most people understand why this is terrible. Like the average person.
Well, the great thing about Linux is that it's just universally available to everybody, and there's no infighting or any sort of problems in the Linux community that might discourage adoption.
Oh, wait. Red Hat tries to address criticism over their source repository changes. It was huge news this week because Red Hat made some changes that say if you subscribe to Red Hat and then you redistribute the source code, which you're permitted to do because of the open source license, then we'll cut off your subscription. So you can redistribute that version, but because you don't have access going forward, you wouldn't have access to any future versions unless you resubscribe and get connected. And it's a violation of the terms of that subscription agreement, which is maybe not against the GPL. So it riled up a lot of people. And Red Hat doubled down and said, well, we think that people that rebuild our sources and don't call it Red Hat are freeloaders.
Kind of like the Reddit thing, huh?
Yeah.
So you can't get Red Hat without being a Red Hat customer anymore, but they will funnel all of the plebs into this.
Furthering the evolution of CentOS Stream, which CentOS Stream, like CentOS was the original, we're going to clone it, call it something else. And then Red Hat bought them. And CentOS Stream is in no way related to what CentOS was previously.
Maybe all of that discourages you and you say, you know what? I'm done with Microsoft. I'm done with Linux. I need another alternative. Well, you're not completely left in the dark. There is one final place you might be able to go.
React OS. It's not Linux. It's just old Windows.
And Krista, get ready for these screenshots. Look at that. Beautiful.
Honestly,
so much nostalgia.
there's part of me that's just kind of like, does it work?
It does.
Well,
Like, that's all I care about anymore. It's like, I just don't want to have to fool with it.
it doesn't do a lot of modern stuff, but yeah, it does run. You can use it, and they have released a new version.
There's a 64-bit version, but the 64-bit version is not compatible with 32-bit anything. But there's also a 32-bit version. So it actually runs really well on old hardware and is a good way to run old software without having to resort to dangerously insecure old versions of operating systems.
And something that we often hear about our ludicrous defense budget is that, well, we have to do it because if we don't, somebody else will. And then everybody uses that excuse and it just becomes circular. That seems to be what's happening here.
Microsoft CEO says that he wants to end Xbox exclusives, but blames Sony. I'm pressing the doubt button, but nothing's happening.
This is an unfortunate photo of him.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
No, not at all. These executives are so slimy that one of the other favorite things that came out of that was Nvidia has these kinds of agreements as well. And so the lawyers asked them, the executives, like, so what's in that Nvidia agreement? And they're like, I don't know. And then so then the lawyers started quoting them from like the Verge articles. And it's like, well, there's this Verge article where you said this. And they're like, no, I'd read another Verge article and I was quoting that. I don't actually remember what's in the agreement because they're not supposed to talk about what's in the agreement. So they only talked about what was leaked out of the agreement in news publications. It was some amazing sliminess. Like, I don't remember. Like, oh, I think you do.
You don't get that job unless you're sliming. Full on slime. Like Nickelodeon levels. And we already talked about this a little bit, but yeah, Google has admitted that a lot of their search prowess was just basically relying on one of the few places on the internet where there's still humans.
Google execs admit users are not quite happy, quote unquote, with search experience after Reddit blackouts. There's never been a better time to embrace your local community, your local fringe community, and try to make the world a better place through that community instead of just whining on the internet all day.
Oh, you mean like IRL?
Yeah.
What's yours?
The forum.
That's not IRL.
Hermes.com.
It's IRL to me.
Well, if you want to do some stuff locally, maybe you can just deliver some packages for Amazon.
Exclusive. Amazon launches local business delivery network. So I read the first few sentences of this and I got an idea of like how this would work where Amazon launches a local business delivery network. And then it goes on to describe something that's not at all like what I was picturing that Amazon would do.
Basically, any business that might already do deliveries, like a florist, if they've got extra space, the Amazon van will deliver to them and then they will deliver to you.
For $2 or $3 a package.
I feel like almost every florist or other little small business I know would not bother with this.
Yeah.
Well, they might not have a choice, right? Because if things keep getting worse and Amazon keeps taking over all their stuff.
I thought about this in the context of having somebody go pick up their packages. Like,
Well, I also thought that's what it was going to be.
it's like it's like your local coffee shop is also your Amazon pickup hub, and we deliver to there twice a day. So
Oh, what a coup that would be to have a coffee shop. It's like, yeah, you get a free black coffee
yeah,
with every Amazon package that you pick up.
yeah, exactly. Well, why wouldn't you? I mean, I'm gonna go to the coffee shop anyway, and then otherwise Amazon only runs 3 times a week or whatever. But you can go to the coffee shop and it's 2 runs a day.
And you're going to buy a donut. While you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool would it go? It's like Jack's shoes, and it's like, what do you do? And it's like, I fix old leather shoes, and also you can pick up your Amazon packages, and it's like, okay.
Maybe I need a pair of shoes repaired.
Well, we learned last week that Spotify is they're in the podcast game already, but they're trying to get into the podcast for free with an upsell subscription game, which is going to squeeze a lot of other people out of the business. And I think some executive boardrooms have already seen what's coming.
SiriusXM to shut down Stitcher podcast app. SiriusXM is not backing away from podcasts, but they are getting rid of the Stitcher podcast app.
I just don't understand why this company's in business. It makes no sense to me.
Because they have a contract with car makers, probably.
You can literally get internet from satellites now. Like they're selling you a product which gives you one tiny thing. You can get the whole internet from a satellite.
We should do a video on having like a really low power Raspberry Pi Zero in your car. Like when it's just on your home Wi-Fi, it just buffers up and downloads a lot of MP3s, and then when you're on the road, it's like, oh, what audiobooks do I want to listen to, or what podcasts, or whatever, and it's just already there in your system, and then you don't even need an internet connection.
The Spotify app does that. It caches heavily. I think mine's got like a gigabyte of cached MP3s on it. So, yeah, that's kind of basically what they do. And Z Library, they are not giving up. You got to respect these people. They are serious about free books.
Z Library launches Tor-Enabled desktop launcher to improve accessibility and also to make sure that you get new books.
Yeah, the accessibility issue is their domains keep getting seized. So they only need this software to know the IP address, and you don't have to worry about getting shut down. But it is desktop that you have to install. I'm sure Microsoft will start scanning and flagging it as malicious very soon. And Microsoft also bought GitHub, and they introduced all these fun new automated tools, but they didn't think too hard about what might happen.
Microsoft GitHub under fire for DDoSing a crucial open source project website. Well, it turns out that it was a GitHub action that automatically downloads stuff from this project website. So if you have automatic integration tests that run on GitHub, it's like somebody does a commit to your repository, and then that kicks off. It's like, oh, somebody made a change. Let's rebuild this. The automation didn't cache downloads from this website. So thousands upon thousands upon thousands of jobs kicked off, which generated thousands upon thousands upon thousands of resource downloads. It seems like GitHub should be a little smarter about that, but it would be hard to do that without breaking SSL. But still, they probably could do that since they control everything.
And some people, terrible people, they want to spy on other people via their phones. And no, I'm not talking about the governments of the world this time. I'm talking about garden variety. Yeah, just controlling people who want that. But they don't think that if they can do it, someone could do it to them.
Let Me Spy, a phone tracking spying app thingy that's used by thousands, says it was hacked.
Oops.
What got out? Everything.
Well, it depends on what you set up your level of spying for. You could spy on literally every keystroke, every app launch, every voice communication, text. If you did that, someone else has all that now.
Oops.
So, yeah, you might know that your spouse is cheating on you, but so does some Polish hacker. And he's going to ransomware you.
He's spying on me.
And we've learned in the past that often the powers that be will, instead of shutting down a criminal enterprise, they will take over and run it so they can collect data from it. That's exactly what they did here.
A 3-year probe of encrypted phones led to seizure of hundreds of tons of drugs, prosecutors say. Now note that this was before. This was with end-to-end encrypted phones and good old-fashioned police work. This was not necessary to have any kind of special anything at Amazon or Apple or Microsoft or anybody.
Well, they seized them. They had the servers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like they didn't need to do anything special.
It's pretty special. The greatest thing about this, though, is there were 2 EU agencies that investigated these, seized the servers, and ran them for a while to catch all this extra stuff. And the FBI was like, "Oh, we want to do that," so they just started their own. Like, it was literally entrapment from the first bite, and they got a lot of people too. Don't trust those, by the way. A phone that's built for crime, should never be using wireless communications in your crimes.
And yet,
And we learned about the guy that stole some secrets from Samsung, allegedly, and now we know more details about exactly what he did.
The Reuters headline is the indictment has detailed the plans to steal Samsung secrets for Foxconn China project.
Now, it was mostly like clean room layouts, building layouts, how to do the more building-based technical stuff, how you the power and all that stuff. He's saying that that's not a trade secret, and he should not be affected by it. Although they claim he took some chip stuff too. So
yeah.
I don't think he's going to be able to defend himself with that, especially not in Korea. And we've heard about this before, which is just madness, where you get an item that you didn't buy. And some people don't question it. They're just like, oh, free item. Perfect. Oh, you got some seeds? Let me put these in the garden.
Oh, don't do that.
And yeah, you should always be suspicious of these.
Randomly received a smartwatch. Don't turn it on, investigators warn. It's probably compromised.
But it could also be a free watch that they use in part of their scam because they do need a real tracking number at some point. But if you get a free Apple Watch, I would not trust that. That's
I would
a hot
assume
dollar.
that was a mistake. Yeah.
There's malware on there.
And
Tale as old as time.
I didn't know about this because I will never take part in this. But I'm sure a lot of people were upset.
Diablo IV and other Blizzard games were down on Sunday due to a DDoS attack.
This happens a lot.
A
non-trivial amount.
Can I just play offline?
No,
Never. Yeah.
That would be terrible.
What kind of dark future is this? I'll just fire up the original Diablo and play it.
Until they just delete it randomly like they did with Overwatch 1.
And the AirTag stalking takes a little bit of a mirror turn here, but it's still a bad idea usually.
4 arrested in shooting death of Bakersfield woman, 61. What started out as Grand Theft Auto, this woman, 61, was like, I'll track it down. I've got an AirTag. They shot her.
What a plucky old gal, huh?
Yeah.
Didn't work out for her, though. She's dead. And we found out that a lot of music, especially it seems like Latin American music, they're not taking advantage of their online stuff. They haven't registered their songs with the powers that be to get their 0.0001 cent per play. But that adds up.
U.S. seeks 70-month prison sentence for YouTube content ID scammer. This is somebody who was just stealing money by content ID claiming everything and got away with it for a very, very long time.
At first, well, they actually uploaded it. Like, they uploaded the music and stuff, too, from what I understood. And I was like, oh, that's not so bad. Maybe they just wanted to, let other people hear it. And then it was and then they said it was theirs. And I was like, oh.
23 million.
Yeah, a lot of money.
They've had to give everything back, and they will be doing some prison time. They deserve it. Yeah, you think that the music companies will, of course, go out of their way to make sure that money gets to the Latin American artist, right?
Oh, of
Oh,
course.
absolutely.
Yeah. They care deeply about their artists.
Sure, they'll be writing some big checks.
Anyway, that's it for this episode. Next episode will be AI and nonsense. Stick around for that on Friday.
Fun times.
Bye.